Hello everyone, this is Sunny, and I'm coming to you with You'll Learn to Love Me, a Yandere Masky X-Reader by FluffyWubs. Today, we are going to be starting off with Chapter 41. He looks scared. That's just how it starts. Come on, let's go back. Cece pursed her lips, glancing over to her shaking father in the corner. She almost felt remorse. Almost. She turned her head back to her friend and smiled, nodding her head. Okay, let's go. I wonder if Ian's still awake. Cece asked herself as she started walking out of her house, hand in hand with her new best friend. The girl in the pink dress smiled curiously. The girl with the messed up legs? She questioned, clutching her bear tightly in her free hand in case he'd slip from her grip. Cece nodded her head. Well, she can walk now, Cece exclaims excitedly, her squeaky voice ringing throughout the cold night. Maybe when she's completely better, we can all go out for some cookies, Cece suggested, already tasting the sweet taste of an imaginary chocolate chip cookie in her mouth. Cece snapped out of her thoughts when the stuffed bunny she held in her tiny hand suddenly slipped from her grip. She quickly picked her bunny back up before catching up with her friend's pace. Say, why are so many people outside? Cece's friend questioned, pointing a slim finger up ahead at the hospital, which was crowded with people rushing out of the hospital, some even pushing others to get through themselves. Cece gasped, stopping in her tracks along with her friend. Oh no, do you think they noticed us leaving? Cece asked in a moment of panic, staring as the people frantically rushed out of the building. She turned to her pink-dressed friend and frowned. Sally, you said they wouldn't notice, she whined. Sally pursed her lips before squinting her eyes, scanning the people that rushed out in a panic. Something isn't right. They surely weren't running outside screaming if they went to look for one little girl. Sally tugged Cece's hand, nodding her head towards the hospital. Let's see what's going on, Sally suggested. Cece seemed to hesitate, but she trusted her friend more than anything, so she walked alongside her. The closer they got to the hospital building, the louder the screams got. Cece started to get a bit frightened. All the screaming wasn't the playful, childish type of screaming she was used to hearing. There were screams filled with terror and fear, something she had never witnessed before, besides in movies she accidentally caught glimpses of. Cece swallowed nervously as Sally walked closer and closer to the crowd with confidence, showing no fear at all. She wished she was as brave as Sally. Sally wasn't afraid of anything. As soon as the two little girls mixed into the crowd, little Cece spotted someone familiar. Sam! Cece called out to the older woman, who was shaking in her high heels with tears streaking down her cheeks. Samantha looked around at the sound of her name, but couldn't pinpoint where that voice actually came from. There were so many people around. How was she supposed to know? Hey, you go over to her, okay? I'll see what's going on, Sally said, releasing Cece's hand. Cece wanted to protest, but Sally was already pushing her way past the crowd. Even though she pushed many people aside, the people didn't seem to notice her at all. Odd. Cece cupped her little hands around her mouth and called out one more time for the nurse. Sam! Samantha scanned her eyes through the ground before she finally met with Cece's gaze. Her worry-stricken face immediately turned into more relieved and happy one as she hurried over to the little girl and picked her up in her arms. Cecilia! Thank goodness! Are you alright? I'm so glad you're okay. The nurse wrapped her free arm around Cece's back, pulling the girl into a hug. Cece felt a bit confused due to the fact that Samantha was crying. Why would she be crying? Maybe she was glad to see Cece again. Sorry, I went outside without permission. I was with my friend, Cece softly admitted, fidgeting with her fingers after she pulled back from the tight bear hug. Have you seen Wyan? Was she with you? Samantha questioned the little girl. Cece furrowed her little eyebrows and shook her head. I thought she was still in her room. Isn't she sleeping? Cece asked quietly, watching as more people were being escorted out of the hospital. Some were even stained with some sort of red liquid. Huh? Anyway, where did Sally wander off to? The little girl in the pink dress calmly walked through the halls. The hospital was mostly empty by now. Mostly. There were patients occasionally scattered here and there, some were leaning against the walls, covered in their own precious blood as they struggled to hang on to life. Others were motionless, laying on the ground. This certainly isn't good. In their right mind would commit a mass murder in a hospital, especially with so many security cameras around. Had to be some sort of daredevil. Maybe one of Slender's minions? Hoodie? No, he's much more stealthy. He wouldn't just go on a rampage. As Sally kept walking through the building, she looked around and she thought who the possible culprit could be. No one in particular popped into her mind. No time to be playing detective anyway. She was going in mainly to find that girl Wyan, just to keep Cece at bay from coming into the hospital to search for the girl herself. If she remembers clearly, Wyan's room would be just a few doors away from Cece's. Sally held her teddy bear in front of her chest and her two arms wrapped securely around the stuffed animal. Handprints were imprinted on the walls with lifeblood. Some of it was even smeared along the wall as if they were dragging their bloodied body against it, and looked like it came straight out of a cliche horror movie. Sally looked up ahead, and she should be close. She could already see her door, except someone was leaning against it. The closer she got, the quicker she realized that it was a dead person. The victim leaning against Wine's door looked like a female, by the way her hands were stained and a pair of fingers imprinted onto her neck. It was clear that she had put up a struggle. Poor girl. She was probably nothing more than an innocent civilian who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sally grabbed the bloody hand of the female and pulled with all her might to get her away from the door. It took a bit of a struggle, but she finally managed to pull her aside. She walked in front of the door and got on the tip of her toes to reach the handle of the door, pulling it down. Surprisingly, it was unlocked. Oh no, did the killer already get her? Sally made her way inside, only to meet with a cold, empty room. What in the world? Everything still looked neat. From her bedsheets to the clean marbled floor, no blood, no... Wait. Scratch that. Sally noticed little droplets of dried blood that were staining the clear floor. Nothing too severe. Why would she lose such little blood if there's a ruthless killer roaming around? Sally shivered from a cold breeze, hugging her little bear even tighter. She curiously looked around the room and even checked underneath the covers just in case Wyan would be hiding there. Sadly enough, the room was empty. One thing Sally noticed out of the ordinary was that the window was open. Maybe Wyan jumped out the window, but then how did the blood come in her room? Her little feet dragged her over to the window and cautiously peeked over it. It wasn't too high, but definitely high enough to sprain an ankle for someone in bad shape like her. Hell, maybe her legs could even break, knowing that her legs were already in a bad shape. Sally leaned a bit over the edge, looking down at the soil below her. If she had escaped, she surely would have gone around the building in the entrance of the hospital, considering the window led to the back side of the hospital. But since she wasn't in the crowd, this could only mean something happened to her. Sally huffed to herself. All this thinking just made her head hurt. It's not her job to find the girl, but still, she wants to make her friend happy. She had a girl her age as a friend for so long that she didn't want to lose this one. And as Sally backed away from the window, she heard a bawl of pain that rang out through the halls. Constant howls that definitely came from a terrified male, and she had almost dropped her bear from the sudden startle. Time to put on her big girl pants and see what was going on. She rushed out of the room as fast as her little feet could take her, following the primal screams of a male that sounded like he was dying. His wails were slowly turning into whimpers mixed with moans. She could tell he was close to giving up on living just by listening, and she finally spotted where the yelling came from. Just at the end of the hall, tucked into a dark corner, laid a male around his 40s covered in crimson liquid. Another person, presumably a male, hovered above the injured stranger. His hoodie, which seemed gray in the dark corner, was stained with multiple colors. Sally noticed a rather large kitchen knife stained with fresh and old blood that was being held in an unnatural pale hand. She could immediately recognize the culprit. "Hey!" Her high-pitched voice called out for the older man that loomed above the injured one. The male with the knife in his hands whipped his head around towards the direction of the voice, ready to attack whoever called him out. However, just before he could do any damage, he backed away. "Ah, fuck, not this little shit." His gruff voice hissed to himself, glaring at the little girl a few feet ahead of him. Sally put her hands on her hips, the teddy bear dangling from her grip. "Didn't Sunder tell you to not attack crowded places after you left the mansion?" She walked over to the male and gave him a nasty glare. The charcoal-haired male looked down at the girl before grunting to himself. "Fuck out of here, kid. I'm trying to do my job." He pointed to the direction of the exit, or so Sally assumed, since the exit was a few halls down. "I don't like your language, Jeff," she exclaimed. The permanently smiling killer rolled his eyes. He was about to tell her off again until she beat him to it. "Where's Wyan?" she asked. Jeff shut his mouth for a moment before giving the girl a puzzled look. "Who?" "Wyan, the girl with the broken legs. Tell me where she is, you butt." Sally angrily kicked Jeff's shin with all of her force. Jeff took a step back and let out a soft hiss. "Damn this brat. I don't know who the fuck you're talking about, and get out of my way. I need to bounce before I get caught." Jeff seethed, pushing Sally aside to make his way past. Sally wasn't going to let him go so easily. She wrapped her arms around his leg and sat on his foot whilst wrapping her tiny legs around his leg as well. "No, you tell me where she is, Jeff," Sally protested, clinging onto his leg as steady as she could, all while still holding her bear close to her. Jeff's fuse was only getting shorter as he placed his hand on Sally's head, trying to pry her off. "I don't fucking know. Get off, brat." Jeff sneered bitterly, and from the distance all the way into the depths of the hallways he could hear multiple footsteps barging in. The loud shouting belonged to multiple police officers that were infiltrating the building. Ah, shit. He was left with no other choice. Using his free leg, he stomped onto the little girl's side, causing her to immediately release her grip around his leg. She skidded along the smooth floor, sucking in a sharp breath as her bear flew out of her hand. Her little arms supported her body as she pushed herself up, only to see Jeff making a run for it. You go to heck, Jeff, Sally cursed bitterly as she got up onto her feet, wiping the dust from her dress before grabbing her stuffed animal. What an ass. She was definitely going to tell on him. I don't know how long it has been. I don't even know if it's the next morning or not. The seconds felt like minutes, and the minutes felt like hours. My eyes had adjusted to the dark, just only enough to see the shadowy outlining of the things in the room. My wrists were hurting from futile attempts of trying to get the cuffs off of them, and I managed to bend my legs to at least give them a good stretch, considering only my ankles were tied up. I tried to loosen up the rope around my ankles, or whatever was keeping my ankles tied up, only to come to the realization that it wouldn't help me in any way. Even if I did get my ankles loose, what good would it do? Oh, I was all out of tears and physical energy. I was already starting to feel the effects of starvation. My mouth was dry and my throat felt parched. I could barely get a word out. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. I've even gone as far as to try and drink my own spit, and of course it didn't help, but it was the only thing keeping my tongue at least a bit hydrated. My stomach cried out in hunger. It hasn't even been that long, and I'm already feeling like this. Or maybe it has been long. I don't know. I just wanted to get out. The stench of the corpse beside me was getting progressively worse. I was even starting to get used to the smell. I sniffle, wiping my dried cheek with the side of my arm. I'll die soon. I don't know how long I have left, but my fate is definitely coming soon. I just wish I could have said goodbye to my family and friends. They could all be worried, or maybe they don't even know what has happened yet. I mean, I assume someone noticed me missing. Maybe Samantha or Cece. God, I wish I could have said goodbye to them. They're such good people. Whatever happened to the hospital, I just hope they're safe. That is the end of that chapter. The chapter after that one is chapter 42. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until next time, bye-bye.